Hey guys, it's Jake here with eTrailer. Today we have a 2023 Buick Enclave, and we're going to be taking a look at, and I'm going to show you how to install the CURT Class 3 2-inch hitch receiver. This is what your hitch receiver is going to look like when it's installed. Now we do not have the appearance panel on the back here, but whenever you're not using your hitch, you can throw your appearance panel back on, and your vehicle is going to look just like it did from the factory. Adding a 2-inch hitch to the back of your Enclave is going to allow you to do a couple of different things. You can use it for bike racks, cargo carriers. If you're wanting to pull a small trailer, I would definitely say to install the 4-pole wiring while you're doing this install, because the wiring plug is right here behind the rear fascia. You can connect right up to it, get your fascia back on the vehicle, and then your wiring's all finished up at the same time you're done with the hitch. Our hitch will come with a standard 5/8 inch hitch pin hole. This is going to accept a pin and clip. The pin and clip do not come with the hitch, but you will need one, whether it's a locking or non-locking hitch pin, to be able to keep your accessories in place. Our safety chain loops are going to be a loop style. They'll fit safety chains of many different sizes so that you can safely tow those trailers. Now, as far as weight capacities go for this hitch, you're going to have a max tongue weight capacity of 750 pounds and a max gross trailer weight capacity of 5,000 pounds. This hitch is rated to use weight distribution with it, so if you have a camper or say a small box trailer that you want to use this weight distribution with, it kind of helps with sway a little bit. This hitch is rated for that. The only thing is that your weight capacities are not going to change. Now some measurements for you so you know how it fits on your Enclave. From the center of our hitch pin hole to the outermost part of our bumper is about 2.5 inches. That measurement's going to help you when trying to choose an accessory. If you watch some of our videos, you'll get a measurement from the center of the hitch pin hole on the accessory to the closest part of the accessory when folded up to the vehicle. Using that 2.5 inch measurement I just gave you is going to help you decide whether or not that accessory is going to fit on your car. From the ground to the top inside of the receiver tube is about 20.5 inches. That is more than high enough off the ground. If you have a cargo carrier or a bike rack in there, you shouldn't have any problems with going in and out of steep driveways or on streets. You shouldn't have any issues with those accessories dragging on the ground. As far as the installation goes, you will have to remove the rear fascia of this vehicle because it installs on the ends of our frame rail flat up against the back of our vehicle. I personally think that this type of hitch is a little bit easier to install at home because you don't have to lay on the ground underneath the vehicle. You will have to take 2 screws out from underneath on the fascia to get it removed, and then all your other screws are going to be in your wheel wells on either side. And then you can just pull the fascia off and then put the hitch up into place. It's really not too bad. I'd say probably the hardest part about it is and you'll see in our install in a little bit, that when we put the hitch up inside of the frame rails, the 2 front holes tend to have a little bit of an issue lining up perfectly. But if you've got a burr bit at home, which is just a grinding bit for a drill, you can open up those holes just a little bit more so that you can get that hardware to drop down and into place. But other than that, it's really not too bad, and I think you could definitely get it done at home. But with that being said, let's go ahead and get it done. To begin our installation, we're going to be in the rear hatch of our vehicle. We're going to have a T15 screw down here we'll have to remove, and then we're going to have to pop these 2 plastic covers off to reveal a couple of 7mm head bolts. So we'll pop that out, change our bit out here. And you want to take a trim panel tool, or if you have a screwdriver, just use like a little rag on the tip of it so you don't scratch your vehicle. Pop those off, and you can see those 2 screws that we have to take out. And we'll do this on both sides of the vehicle. Actually, everything we do from here on out, we're going to do on one side, and we're going to do the same on the other side. Take that same T15 Torx bit. We're going to have several screws on the inside of our wheel well here that we'll have to remove. Now we can pull our fender liner back, and you'll see that there is a 7mm head screw right here that's holding this piece of the fascia to this piece of the fascia. We'll take our 7mm, and if you don't have a fancy angle tool like this, actually this job, it makes it a lot easier if you do have one. So if you want to pick one up from your local hardware store, they come in handy. If not, just use your standard ratchet. Now we're going to take our T15 bit again and take 2 screws out of the bottom of our rear fascia. Before we start peeling our rear fascia off, we like to tape both sides of the seam so that we don't scratch the paint when we go to take it off. So let's take some blue painter's tape, tape this seam off. Now in order to remove your rear fascia, you're going to want to have an extra set of hands to help you handle it. There's a lot of area here that can bend and twist and crack, so having an extra person is definitely going to help. We'll start with our fascia here. You just want to pull back on it and worry about one of those clips at a time. And as you go up, there's not hardly any clips that are holding it on up here. But once we pull it back, we're going to look for some wiring. Oh, it's over there on our driver's side. We'll just pull that little red tab and then click the button and pull it apart. Now we can take our fascia and set it off in a safe place. Before we go and remove our bumper beam, we're going to have to put a strap supporting the exhaust because our exhaust is being held on by 2 bolts back at the back, and you don't want to damage it. So we're going to have to take these 2 bolts out of each side, and then our mufflers are going to want to drop. So that's what that strap is there to hold. We can take it off later whenever we got everything remounted. But for now, we're going to take a 15mm socket and remove the 2 nuts on top and the 2 bolts on bottom. Now when you're removing the last nut off of your bumper beam, you want to be sure to be careful. Ours did not, but typically they can fall off the back of the vehicle, and you don't want that to happen. So we'll take our bumper beam and we'll set it off to the side. Take our hitch and we're going to slide it up into place. Sometimes it's easier to put both sides in at the same time so it doesn't get bound up. And you want to make sure that this is sitting flat against the vehicle. Even when we put the hardware on the inside, you want to make sure that it's sitting flat and doesn't have a space here. We'll just put 1 nut on each side to hold it in place. Now that we've got our hitch up and in place, we need these 2 bottom holes to line up with the holes in our hitch. The front one does line up. You can take your hardware, you want to use the carriage bolts and slide it up through the bottom to make sure that it fits. The back hole, and we've had some issues with these before, the back hole does not line up perfectly and you can't get that bolt to line up to drop down into place. So all you have to do is just take a little grinding bit like this or a drill bit and just open up that hole a little bit so that you can fit the hardware up and in there. Take our hardware and start feeding it into place. We'll need to take our carriage bolts, our spacer blocks, feed those onto our fish wires. We've got our front one done here. That one's pretty easy to do because you just drop it in through this access hole here, straight down and into place. The back one is where it gets a little trickier. Then we want to take a conical tooth washer with the teeth facing the hitch and our nut and thread it into place. And once you get your hardware installed, we'll come back with a 3/4 inch socket and tighten them down. Then we're going to want to torque this hardware before inserting the rest of our hardware up front. Take our hardware that we have left in our kit and we're going to put the smaller conical tooth washers on them. We can lift our exhaust back up into place, and these are going to replace our factory bolts that we took out of these slots. Then we'll take a 17mm socket and snug these down. And then we'll come back and torque those 8 pieces of hardware to the specifications and the instructions. At this point in the install, you'll just want to put your rear fascia back on the way that we took it off, using the same fasteners, getting it all put back together. What I highly recommend, and what we're going to do here real quick, is install your wiring. If you plan on ever towing a trailer in the future, you're going to need at least 4-pole wiring, and this is your harness right here. It's really easy to put this in place when you've got this fascia off. The fascia is not hard to take off, but you'd hate to have to take it off again in order to put your wiring on. So we're going to go ahead and hook our 4-pole wiring up. In the case of this install, what we'll do is we'll just hook it up to our wiring here, run it across the top of our hitch tube, zip tie it maybe 3 or 4 times, and then we'll have it hanging down here on our safety chain loop. Let's get this reconnected. Wait for that click. And I'm just going to run this wire across the top of our hitch tube, zip tie it a couple times, and then we'll be ready to throw our fascia back on. Be sure to reconnect your wiring. Once you get your fascia back on, that's going to do it for the installation. Hopefully this video helped you decide whether or not the CURT Class 3 2-inch hitch receiver is right for you and your 2023 Buick Enclave.